our December 11th, 2025. This is our last council meeting of 2025. We have no regrets this evening. Number 2 on the agenda is the invitation to stand and move. At any time that anybody would like a break, they can get up and stand and move. Number 3, the agenda. Does anybody have any additions to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. Press the button, but I'm only getting green.
Uh-oh. Oh, hold on. Whoops. Go ahead,
Okay,
Councillor
now it's
Foster.
red. Yes, I'd like to add an item to the agenda. It's an update. Flooding Highway 3 and 308. I'd like an update on that situation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that okay with every other councillor? Everybody's okay with that? Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by our Deputy Warden. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Conflict of interest declarations. Does anybody have a conflict of interest that they wish to declare at this time? I am actually going to declare conflict for number 11A. When we come down to the first reading of the development agreement for Dion's Oyster Company, I'm going to declare conflict because my son works for Dion's Oyster Company, and since the decision is being made by us as a municipality, I will declare conflict at that point. If anybody has a conflict to declare at any time, they can. Doesn't even have to be right now, so just keep that in mind. Number 4, we have a presentation, Mersey Tobeatic Research Institute. Come on up. We'll get you to press the button on the mic. If you could introduce yourself to us. Yes.
Yeah?
There you
go. Actually, I have a slide for that, but my name's Sarah, and I work for the Mersey Tobeatic Research Institute. So there's me. I have a degree, that's cool, whatever. But I work for the Mersey Tobeatic Research Institute now, but before I worked for Nature Conservancy of Canada, and I've also worked for Parks Canada on Sable Island. And if you click forward, this is actually a picture of a very rare species of bat that I found on Sable Island, which is kind of how I fell into bats in general. So this is like the easternmost sighting of this species, which is super rare. We can go to the next slide. So Mersey Tobeatic Research Institute is a huge mouthful, but basically we just call it MTRI. It is an environmental non-profit cooperative charity, which is also a mouthful, based in Kempt, which is right near Kedgie. The focus of this, the charity itself, is on preserving biodiversity in southwestern Nova Scotia, and it prioritizes collaboration and research-based decision-making in community science. So we focus mainly on species at risk, so bats, of course, for me, turtles, plants, trees, birds, insects, etc. That's the next slide. So our other projects, like I was listing, are Blandings turtles, monarch butterflies, eastern ribbon snakes, forest birds, old growth forests, and barn swallows. But I'm just here to talk about bats. So bats are mammals, not birds. They are not rodents. They're actually the second largest group of mammals behind rodents, so there's 1,500 species. They're super diverse. There's fruit eaters, insect eaters, carnivores, and even a couple that are actually vampires and drink blood. Bats are present on every continent besides Antarctica, and there are 19 species in Canada, not 9, and 6 can be found in Nova Scotia. So a lot of people don't actually know that. When you think of bats, you just kind of think there's 1. There's actually 6. And what do? They're the primary consumers of night insects. So 70% of bats eat insects, but they're also important pollinators and seed dispersers, and they're culturally significant and economically significant. One little brown bat can catch 1,000 insects in an hour. A little bit more on bats. So they're nocturnal. They're only active at night. There's not a lot of information actually on them because they're so hard to track and study, and they're associated with folklore and culture. Just all the Halloween decorations are bat themed. Again, they're very significant. There was a study that estimated a loss of $26.9 billion US dollars due to an increased use of pesticide when bats declined. They're also the main pollinators of agave, which makes tequila. So we like bats. Even if you don't like anything else, just tequila is from bats. They're ageless and long-lived. The longest lived bat is 40 years old, which is incredibly weird for an animal that small. The largest bat can have a wingspan of 5'5", like the equivalent of a person that's 5'5", and the smallest bat weighs only about as much as a paperclip. And they're one of the few animals that can use echolocation, along with whales. So, as I said, there's 6 species of bats in Nova Scotia. 3 of them hibernate in caves, and 3 migrate. And these are the fancy-looking guys that migrate. So there's a lot of unfair myths about bats that I'm going to try and myth bust really quickly. Myth, bats are blind. No, bats are not blind. They actually have really good vision. Some species have better vision than humans. Another one that I hear commonly is bats want to fly into your hair. They don't. They actually will see you better than you can see them. And if they're swooping at you, they probably are actually just going after an insect, and they don't want to be in your hair. Another myth, bats are scary. They don't want to hurt you. They're actually only about this big. If you see them, their wings just make them look a lot larger. And they want to avoid bothering you. And I think they're really cute. Like, this one just looks like a loaf of bread. Another myth, all bats have rabies. Bats can carry rabies just like any other wild animal. It's actually about like 1% of wild bats might carry rabies, and there haven't been any cases in Nova Scotia. I have a little blurb at the bottom basically saying, if you touch a bat, please contact the Canadian Wildlife Health Cooperative, because even though it is a low chance, and you shouldn't be afraid of bats because of it, you also don't want to risk getting rabies. So the reason that I'm here mainly is to talk about threats to bats and how we can help bring bats back to Nova Scotia. So there's several different, threats to bats. One being disease, which I'll talk a bit more about later on. Energy production, there's been a lot of issues with wind turbines actually threatening migratory bat species. Climate change affecting all animals. Habitat loss, which is the removal and fragmentation of their roost areas. Pesticides, but the main one that we're going to focus on is human persecution and disturbance. So, this is on their disease. So in about 2006, a disease called white nose syndrome was discovered in New York. And it's an invasive fungus that was introduced from Europe, and it infects hibernating bat species. So in about 2013, it's estimated we lost over 90% of all hibernating bats in eastern North America. And now the population is recovering, but it's not over yet. If you click. So this is a map, really scary numbers, but basically blue is like the older sites that were infected, and as you can see, it's sweeping across North America. So there's still more bats on the more western side that haven't gotten this. And even though it is spreading that way, it's still affecting bats here. So it's not over. It's still happening. So all that, what can you do? So number one, you can look for bats around here. It's a really good excuse to just watch summer sunsets and go outside on nice little walks. You can report your bat sightings. So we run a website called www.batconservation.ca where we take information about bat sightings across Nova Scotia. You can spread the word, try and dispel more myths about bats, that they're not spooky, they're just little guys. If you have the resources, you can construct or buy a bat box, which I'll talk a bit more on. You can make your property bat-friendly by planting a bat-friendly garden, or you can bring your cats inside and keep them inside during dawn or dusk when bats return to their roost, because cats are actually the #1 predator of bats. I wouldn't believe it because I don't think my cat could catch a bat, but most dead bat reports we get are ones that are brought in from people's pets. And you can learn more about bats. So by discovering more about bats and passing it on, you're kind of dispelling myths that might harm them. There's a lot of incredible books on bats. The Secret Lives of Bats is really, really good. You have a few hours to spend on that. So how to find bats. This is a lovely picture of me working. The best way to look for bats is to look for their poop, which is a really fun way to spend an evening. Basically, bats poop while they're roosting, so they'll make a large pile under bat boxes or the side of your house. And if you find that, you have proof that you have bats living there. Bat poop basically looks identical to mouse poop, but it's sparkly and it can stick to walls. I wish I was kidding about the sparkly part, but it really is sparkly because of the insect wings that they eat and don't get digested properly. If you don't want to be a poop detective, which is completely normal and reasonable, you can shine a flashlight into a bat box during the day to check if there are bats inside. But we recommend not doing this before dusk or dawn because it can confuse them because they are sensitive to light. Bat reports. If you see a bat anywhere in Nova Scotia, you can report it to this website. We use this information to help us find new bat roosts. It provides information on where bats are and when they emerge from hibernation. You don't need a picture. Every report is seen by an actual person and not a computer because that is my job. Filling out the form is quick and you don't have to answer questions that you don't want to. And we will not share your information without consent. You can also call us and let us know, but it's a lot easier if you put it in the website because people don't leave a lot of information when they leave us messages. Most of the time it's, I saw a bat, and then they hang up, which does not help at all. Next slide. So I thought I'd include a bit of data about Yarmouth bats. So Yarmouth is the 5th least representative county in our bat reports. In the past 10-ish years, we've only gotten 202 reports from Yarmouth County. We have 0 known hibernation sites, but we do have 3 known maternity sites, which is a large summertime colony of babies, which are called pups, and their mothers. And 1 roost we actually discovered this year and is now being monitored by us. We have 30 reports with photos, and summer 2025 had 13 bat reports from Yarmouth, 2 reports of 2 to 5 bats, and 1 report of 10 to 50 bats, which was the roost that we discovered. So we kind of are challenging you guys to change these numbers because it would be really cool if we had more information on bats here because it's the southernmost part of Nova Scotia. You get a lot of migratory bats, and we want to see those because those are really rare. Here are some example pictures that I found of bats in Yarmouth. The one in the middle is actually an eastern red bat, which is super rare. We only have 3 pictures of them that have been reported to us. So I don't know who that is, but good job them. And now bat boxes. So if you have the funds and resources, bat boxes are fantastic. Some general advice. We had a couple studies done, and bats like huge bat boxes and lots of them, which makes it sound like I work for Big Lumber or Big Bat Box or something. I swear. They also like multi-chambered boxes, which provides them a lot of area if they're getting too hot or cold or if they need to cuddle up. Boxes on man-made structures are preferred, but trees and poles work as well. We don't make bat boxes. We are a bunch of biologists. You don't want to hand us power tools. In that picture, I'm using a drill that I learned how to use that day. So we have resource to links to instructions. If you purchase one, make sure you get a large box with multiple chambers. A lot of stores only sell small ones. We do have bat colonies that use the small boxes, so it's not to say that you won't get any, it's just there are preferred ones. Number 1 question I get about bat boxes is, I installed a bat box, but there are no bats. Bats are really weird and picky, and we don't entirely know what might dissuade them from using a bat box. But even if you don't get bats, you're providing habitat for them where there wouldn't necessarily be habitat. So either way, you're doing a good job, and that's exactly what you need to do. So in summary, bats are polite little insect eaters and don't want to bother you. Risk of rabies is low, but it's best not to handle any wildlife, and there are 6 species in Nova Scotia, and all of them are endangered. What happened to bats? White nose syndrome decimated bat populations across eastern Nova Scotia, and it's still an ongoing issue. what can you do? Bat reports, bat boxes, and there's other ways to help that are smaller, like bringing in your cats, plant nighttime pollinator gardens, and spread information on bats, helping to break the bat stigma. And then I included some resources. I also have pamphlets if you like some. But yeah, that's everything. Do you have any questions?
Excellent. Thank you. We have, Councillor LeBlanc has a question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Fantastic presentation. Okay. Years back, prior to the white nose, used to see several bats at nighttime flying around, and now we don't see any.
Yeah.
And actually indicated that we seen our first bat. Actually, I was talking to your mom about that, mentioning to her that seen the first bat probably a few months back, just around the end of summer, which is, it's the first time I've seen one in quite a while. Regarding the white nose syndrome, the bats are making their way back, or they come back, and it is slow. Is there a percentage, do you know, of what that would be compared to what it was, or?
So bats only have one baby a year. So because we lost 90% in about 2013 and it's still declined, they're never going to bounce back as quickly like rabbits or
Right.
rodents. We're actually wrapping up our 5-year study, which has indicated that the sites we have been studying have been increasing, not by any crazy numbers, but like 20 more bats than
Right.
what were before.
Okay.
So it does seem like they're doing a bit better. The ones that have survived hopefully have some immunity or can better
Sure.
equipped to deal with the fungus. But we don't have any concrete numbers of how good they are,
Okay.
because it's a lot of different organizations that are working on it. And
Secondly, and forgive me, because
That's all good.
I don't know the answer to this, but I'm assuming bats hibernate, I assume?
yeah, so we have 6 species, 3 of them hibernate. So the standard bat, that if you see a bat, it's most likely called a little brown bat. They hibernate in caves and mines up in like Antigonish, Cape Breton area, which is why we get a lot of reports from there. But there are 3 species that migrate south. So eastern red bat, silver-haired bat, and the hoary bat. They're really brightly colored and look fancy. But they fly to the southern United States or Mexico to hang out there when it's warm, basically.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Fantastic presentation.
Thanks.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Warden Saunier.
Thank you. This neck of the woods is infested with mosquitoes, so people are warming up to bats
Yay.
and, or want to. Anyhow, my question is, you mentioned that we could create a habitat. So where's their natural habitat?
So they used to be here, we think. A lot of people didn't really care to think about bats before white nose syndrome. Like, it was just a pest that's like, oh, it's always going to be there. Like, there's always going to be bats flying around the lampposts. But since white nose syndrome, we've just finally started studying them. So we assume that they're naturally supposed to be here because they're everywhere else in Nova Scotia. So by getting bat boxes and making pollinator gardens, you're encouraging them to come back to where they once were and hopefully establish a more stable population here.
So I recall when I was younger, there used to be a lot of old barns and old buildings.
Yeah.
And it's where bats would hang around.
Yeah.
So now there's not so many left. And I don't know if that's removed some of their habitat. I'm guessing it is. Also, I'm wondering if there's a correlation with the bats and the swallows and blue martins, because they are also insect eaters, and there's very few of them around.
Yeah, MTRI also studies barn swallows, and the forest birds we study are all flycatchers. So with the increased use of pesticides globally, you're seeing a reduction in insect eaters across the board, like birds and bats as well.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Boudreau.
Great presentation, Sarah. Daryl asked a question that I want to know, so, and so did Ted. So, but great presentation. It's probably going to take decades before the population comes back to where it used to be. And we got to try to help provide habitat for them, like the bat boxes, right? So Good presentation. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy to.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Counselor Foster?
I have a question, but not quite on bats. The
Yes.
first thing that caught my interest was the Blandings turtle.
Yeah.
And can you give us a little update on that?
Yeah, so MTRI studies Blandings turtles. Basically, if you work at MTRI, you're going to be helping with turtles. Even if you're bat biologist like I am or snakes, you will have to pitch in on turtles. So in about June, it was turtle nesting season. So we go out every night to look for all the turtles that we have marked, and they each have their own names. And we basically place a box over their nest so we can monitor how
Okay.
many eggs there are and make sure their babies are hatching properly. I believe their numbers have been doing well.
Okay. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a significant decrease. We did get 2 new females that laid eggs this year, so we were very excited about that.
Okay.
But I don't get to play with that data. I'm just a body to look for them during
Right.
the summer.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your
Yeah,
presentation. It was
thanks.
really interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, number 5, adoption of the minutes. So our minutes for November 27th, 2025 are Executive Council meeting minutes. Were there any issues with the minutes? Okay, seeing none, we will adopt them as they were presented. Number 6, recognizing Argyle council announcements. Does anybody have anything they would like to share tonight? Councillor Foster.
Yes, I would like to congratulate the group of volunteers at Twin Village Social Club in Emeros Hill. I find they're doing an excellent job. They're putting on community breakfasts, they're putting on various suppers for seniors. There's always something going on for every segment of the population. They have an amazing group of volunteers. And I'd like to publicly congratulate them for the wonderful work that they are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. The buoy tree is up again in Lower West Pubnico at the Wharf, and the Anna's Gingerbread House and the Shane Light Tree are up at the Musée. A lot of volunteers take great pride in putting that up each year, and they do a great job of it, so I'd just like to recognize those volunteers and thank them. And also, last evening, I was to the Nikhil home, and the staff and volunteers put on a great Christmas party last night for the residents and for their families. And hats off to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boudreau.
Thank you to the volunteers of the lobster trap tree and the gazebo Christmas tree. Thank you to them.
Thank you. We will continue on. Number 9, our 7-day notice. So we have 7-day notice for Article C60, security camera. So the policy was attached. It will be coming up at a later agenda for discussion. Number 10, old business. Excuse me, 10A, request to join the Highway 101 Task Force. So there was a request that had come to us a few meetings ago, and we had requested a little bit more information. So we received an email from the Municipality of Digby, I believe it was, yes, and they are looking for possible interest. If there's any interest to help them be on the task force for Highway 101 from Marshalltown to Weymouth. Is there anybody who is interested in being a part of that task force? Okay, so we will continue on, just putting it out there. Next, we have 10B, we have the water coupon program. So we've had a water coupon program at the municipality where we were giving water out to residents. And we, excuse me, we are now having less issues with water and drought. and we are noticing that less and less residents are coming and asking for coupons for water. So it was recommended that we continue on until December 22nd, I believe. December 22nd. So staff is recommending that our water coupon program conclude on December 22nd as our need for the program continues to diminish. So if we agree with this, it would be wise to make a motion in order to stop our program on December 22nd. Is somebody willing to make that motion? Okay, moved by Councillor Bourque, seconded by Councillor Surratt. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. And a big thank you to staff for facilitating that. It was a lot of work, but well needed. 11, for decision and discussion. So 11A, we have first reading, development agreement, Dion's Oyster Company. So I will relinquish the chair to you.
All right, thank you, Warden. We are looking for the first reading of the development agreement, Dion's Oyster Company. There's an attachment.
There's also
And WSP, yes. We'll put the presentation.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Erin Sove, and I'm here to present the development agreement application. I'm just going to try and share my screen here. And if someone could just let me know if you can see this, that would be great.
we can see.
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, so I'm here today to talk about the development agreement application to enable marine-related aquaculture use along Highway 3 in Eelbrook. So the applicant has applied for a development agreement to bring the existing uses on the property into compliance with the existing municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. The marine-related aquaculture uses have been in operation since 1995. The planning documents that were actually in place in 1995 zoned this property as a rural development zone. At that time, that zone allowed all uses as of right, including industrial uses. The later 2000 land use bylaw zoned this property as a general use zone, which allowed for light industrial uses. And in that definition, it actually refers to the wholesale distribution and sales, lobster pounds, fish farms, marine plant farms, and uses similar to the foregoing. The applicant actually owns the properties immediately adjacent to the subject property to the east and west. I also just want to note that the following matters are primarily regulated through the province, which is the driveway access onto Highway 3, as well as activities on Eel Lake related to the aquaculture operations. So the subject property is located along Highway 3 and has a property size of approximately 2.3 acres and just under 300 feet of frontage along Highway 3. As mentioned, the current use of the property is a marine-related aquaculture use, which includes 2 40-feet shipping containers, 1 20-foot shipping container, 1 sorting and grading building, and then the remainder of the property is well-treed and vacant. Currently, the property is accessed through the adjacent property, which is under the same ownership, through a private driveway. And as you can see on the right of this screen, we've just given a high-level site plan overview. So you can see the 2 shipping containers, as well as the sorting and grading building, and the 20-foot shipping container. The applicant has also shown where the proposed future driveway would be, and as mentioned, that is handled through the province. The subject property is currently designated coastal communities in the municipal planning strategy and zoned coastal community in the land use bylaw. So the policy considerations, there was a detailed table of the evaluative criteria from the enabling municipal planning strategy policies, and corresponding comments from staff is attached as attachment B in your package. Currently, there's existing policies in the municipal planning strategy that enable council to consider amendments to the land use bylaw regulations without requiring amendments to the municipal planning strategy policy as it is within the coastal community designation. This application is specifically enabled by policy 3.37 of the municipal planning strategy. And why is a development agreement necessary? Any aquaculture activities in the coastal community zone do require to go through a development agreement, which is what this application is for. So just to give some context of the surrounding to the site, so all the surrounding properties along Highway 3 are currently zoned coastal community. The coastal community's designation recognizes that the surrounding land use will accommodate growth and development in a manner similar to rural centers. A number of aquaculture operations currently exist surrounding Eel Lake in the present day. The intent of the coastal community's designation is to accommodate an ample supply of diverse residential, commercial, institutional, recreational, agricultural, forestry, and light industrial uses. The lots immediately to the east and west of the subject property are currently occupied by a residential dwelling under the same ownership as the subject property, and while Eel Lake exists to the north of the property. Staff feels this proposal is consistent with the intent of the MPS based on the review of the policies contained in the municipal planning strategy, as indicated in more detail in attachment B of your package. So the public engagement that has been either completed or is currently ongoing for this application, staff's going to comply with the public participation policies within the municipal planning strategy. Additionally, as per Section 206 of the Municipal Government Act, a public hearing is required when entering into a development agreement to provide an opportunity for the community to provide input on the application. An advertisement outlining the application and indicating that it has been received and notifying the public of the public hearing will be placed into the Tri-County Vanguard, depending on tonight's decision. The public is, of course, encouraged to request any additional information and clarification leading up to the public hearing if they have any questions or comments. Additionally, a sign was placed on the property on May 16th earlier this year, notifying residents that an application has been received. And as indicated in the Municipal Government Act, there is a right of appeal option for approval or refusal of the development agreement. To give a high-level overview of the next steps, staff's going to continue to review the proposal as public feedback is received. Depending on the decision tonight, we'll schedule a public hearing, as well as providing mail-out notices to properties within 152 meters of the subject property. The notice of the public hearing advertisement will get put into the Tri-County Vanguard 2 weeks prior to the public hearing. And generally, the process is as follows. Currently, right now, we're at first reading. Last week, we were at the PAC meeting. And then moving forward would be the public hearing and then council decision. Thank you very much. That's my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Erin. Is there any questions from council for Erin or Renee? Seeing none, I guess we can ask council if someone wants to make a motion to approve the first reading. It is moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Book. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. Okay. We're going to pause for a second for the warden.
Councillor Digdon, did you have something you want to say?
Just concerning the last motion that was made, and by all means it went through, just wondering, it states that the notice for section 206 is going to be put in the Vanguard. I'm wondering if we could also put it on our municipal website that the councillors can share if they so wish.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, that is another one we always put on the municipal website, and then it'll go through the Facebook post as well.
Yeah, good, thank you, just checking, thank you.
Councillor Madden?
Question as well on the posting. If this goes through like this week on the Vanguard, and you have 2 weeks, is it holidays have anything to do with this? Like, are we going to have this through the holidays? Or is that going to be considered?
I believe Chantal can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Chantal does the advertising, so every Tuesday, I believe the Tuesday would go out, so we'd have to prepare, as long as we can get the advertising piece ready for next Tuesday, then it would go out the following, no, it's 2 weeks.
It should go out on Tuesday, on Wednesday, the 24th. It should go out on Christmas Eve.
On Christmas Eve, yeah, it would go out on Christmas Eve.
So where we don't have any more council meetings for the rest of the year, shouldn't we delay this as much as to start the new year?
There's
fresh?
two notices go out, I believe. So there'll be another, the first
'Cause I
advertising
know
will be,
people are not
yeah.
going to have good Christmases if they read that.
So the first one would be the 24th, and then the second one would be 14 days. There'd be another ad in the paper 14 days later. So it's
Public hearing for the 15th.
for the 15th of January. So does that answer your question?
Well, it does. I just thought it would be a good idea to
Yeah.
just stop right now and then start back fresh where we're not meeting.
Yeah,
Why do we do any other council business? It's not necessary.
yeah. Well, it'd be if council wishes. Yeah, we can definitely move the public hearing for February, in the first week, or depending on the Vanguard, when it would work in February as well,
Okay. To me, we shouldn't post anything or put it out there till January.
till January.
Yeah.
Okay.
So through you, Madam Chair, so the rules don't, what you passed doesn't specify precisely the date that you have the public hearing. It only authorizes the fact that you will be having a public hearing. And because you're doing that, it starts a clock, but the clock does depend on you. So it doesn't have to be right now, the clock starts. It can be, we can choose a public hearing as long as the public hearing date is known and that there's enough notice prior to that date in order to happen. Then that's the only two things that we would require as staff to make sure that the rules are followed. If the 15th is considered to be slightly early, depending on, looking at the holiday situation, that's an understandable concern. We can push that date by a 7-day period. There will be no municipal business required before that time, meaning we wouldn't have, like, there wouldn't, like, the absence of meetings in between would not change the date. So, you know, yes, we're closed for a couple days during the holidays, but that wouldn't change the date of that. But it is true that these ads will not be seen as readily, perhaps, as outside of the holiday season. If you want to, I think that it's appropriate, if you wish to set the date on a different date other than the 15th, I think that council can make that decision. Am I wrong or am I right?
You're correct.
Okay, so if that's a concern that's shared, you can give us advice as to what date works best, and we'll work backwards to make sure that the advertising fits the rules. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you wish a different date than the 15th, let us know, and I don't know that I mean, a motion is clear, but consensus is also fine. It doesn't have to be made by a motion. But if there's a different date, please let us know so that we follow the rules.
Deputy Warden Sonia.
Thank you. I think Councillor Madden's got a fair and concerning question, and I agree with him. I think the holidays might disrupt some communications here. And I think we should look at delaying it or moving it forward, personally.
Councillor Digdon.
Thank you, and I agree also with Councillor Madden. For this, over the holidays, it's not as if we're going to be holding up a lot, for what's going to be happening. And I feel as though for the public to get informed, the way they should be informed. And also, I do know that over the holidays, the municipal office will be closed down for a while, so if anybody has any questions or concerns, they'd have a hard time finding someone here, I believe. So I agree with Councillor Madden.
Councillor LeBlanc?
Thank you. Yes, if needed, I can certainly change the motion to include the date, and if there's consensus, is the 22nd enough time? Or are we looking at something longer? Yeah, so would that put us to the 22nd or 29th? 29th? Yep. So if, at council's wishes, I'm prepared to modify my motion to include that the date would be changed to the 29th.
You chair. I'm,
My Michael?
yeah. Press it again, yep.
Okay, so you want to amend your motion
Yes.
to the 29th?
Of January.
Does a seconder good with that?
So is that possible to do that?
I don't know what went wrong here.
Could you press your button again?
Business come.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
So if we move it to the 29th, that's fine. So I'll support that motion.
So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried as amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have 11B, first reading, land use bylaw amendments. There is an attachment, it was just some housekeeping. Did you want to speak on that, or? I'm trying.
I don't know what I did.
Oh, okay, got it.
There you go. Thank you, Madam Chair. So as a detachment everybody has, I'm just going to do very high level. So the Planning Advisory Committee recommends this amendment to make the land use bylaw match the municipal planning strategy. Accessory dwelling units, secondary living units like a basement suite or a garden suite, or units above garages would be allowed as accessory uses in the following ways. So in most residential and mixed zones, accessory dwelling units can be added to a single detached or semi-detached, which is duplex homes. In light and heavy industrial zones, accessory dwelling units can be added to single detached dwellings, letting people live on these properties while keeping the main industrial use. And in certain commercial and industrial zones, accessory dwelling units can be added to light industrial or any permitted uses. Again, all these changes just match our municipal planning strategy. So the amendments also clarifies that a single unit dwelling are allowed in light and heavy industrial zones, and this change is presented at the first reading, would take effect once council approves and updates the land use bylaw.
Are there any questions? Okay, so can we have a motion to approve first reading? Moved by Councillor Digdon, seconded by Councillor Madden. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. 11C, request for demolition. Highway 335, property 1057, Highway 335. We have two attachments. We have an RFD as well as memo explaining. So we have had, this has come to us already. We've had a discussion around this. There is some information regarding the demolition. What is the wish of council on this? Is somebody willing to make a motion? Councillor Digdon.
Thank you very much. This This one here is very near and dear to my heart. It's a big building, very big building, amongst some homes very close to it in the middle of Middle West Pubnico. Actually, the building itself is the main building is about 90 feet by 35 feet. Went and measured it today with my grandson to be sure. It's over 100 years old. The owner has been letting it go downhill for the past few years. It's been deemed dangerous and unsightly, and I'd like to make a motion to have this building demolished.
Do we have a seconder? I'll second. Okay, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next, we have, Councillor Digdon.
Okay, if I may, first off, I'd like to thank council, my fellow councillors, and that for agreeing with that, to have this building hopefully demolished. And I'd like to also extend a thank you to our CAO and his staff for all of the work they've done towards this, getting to this point here this evening, because it's been an ongoing issue for years, literally. And I'll go a little further, though. I'm kind of upset, and I don't know if there's any way of retrieving what it may cost the municipality to get this money back, because this building is on its own lot of land, and there's 3 other lots that it's, although the building is owned or the taxes are paid by the same owner, I hope it's just not a matter of the municipality has to demolish it, and then he just keeps on going with these other 3 lots and don't have to worry about paying us back or anything like this. I know there is some interest in this piece of land after it's gone. I've already been talking to a person today that would be interested in it. Whether or not we can recoup all the money it's going to cost us to have it tore down, I don't know. But I'm just looking not only at this this building, I know there's some other big buildings in the municipality, and not only big buildings, just homes where people will let them go and quit paying taxes on it and just walk away. I'm not going to pay to tear it down. It's let the municipality do that. But the municipality, again, is us, all of us, and all of our taxpayers. And I'd just like to see some type of protection that we don't have to keep tearing down these buildings without no way of recouping the money that it costs us to tear them down. Thank you.
CAO Muse?
Through you, Madam Chair, there was a legal question around this item. So first and foremost, it is the responsibility of the property owner to pay this bill. This is primarily their bill to pay. However, I think we can all agree that this is a particularly large undertaking, and so the cost to demolish will be higher than a regular home, which means that there's an increased risk that this person or the owner or on a tax sale, if it gets to that point, you won't be able to recover your entire cost of investment. But I think there was a question here that I will be bringing to legal, because there's a legal question around, well, if the property is subdivided in itsy-bitsy little pieces, how does that work from the perspective of cost recovery? I don't have the answer to that. It's a legal question. I'll seek legal counsel on that, and under his privilege, you'll receive an in-camera response to that question. But it's a very good question. We haven't seen that here, thankfully. So that's to answer that. And yeah, I think I know that not all questions that you've asked have been answered, but I think what we want to be very clear on is that this is predominantly the owner's responsibility to pay for it. And we don't want to make any assumptions as to whether or not, this person may in fact pay, or it becomes part of their taxes on the property, and they may not, and they may sell. There's all sorts of things that could happen here before tax sale comes along. So we'll pass that question along.
Councillor Surratt?
Yes, thank you. I was just in reading the packet and the information on this property and kind of the process of what happens in this situation. I would assume, I think, that the property owner is paying their taxes right now, and that would include the taxes on a big building. And once the big building is gone, of course, taxes on land versus taxes of a building and land is quite different. But yet, the demolition would reflect on their taxes, is what I'm understanding in terms of the process, if they continue paying their taxes. If not, the third, my understanding again from the process is the third possible process would be tax sale. And it talks about the bidding process, opening bid with the balance of the taxes owing. So would that piece of, if it went to sale, would that piece of property be sold at the price that would include the demolition? You kind of know what I'm trying to say, and what I'm trying to ask?
Through you, Madam Chair, your question's very clear.
Yeah.
First of all, the answer is yes. It would include all taxes, fees, penalties, interest, any costs that we would have incurred. And in this case, since we will be leading the demolition, we will be applying that cost against their taxes. So they could, maybe they owe $1,000 on their property taxes, and maybe the demolition is, you know, $50,000, $60,000, and maybe there's interest and penalties. That's your opening bid. You either get one or you don't. And so what typically happens in the process of tax sale is that if you don't get an opening bid, you try again. And after the second time that occurs in the next year prior, council then has the ability to amend or adjust the price that makes more sense from a sale perspective. That's the first area where the municipality could in fact lose some of the investment that they've put in a property if the bid does not, if there's no opening bid. As soon as there's an opening bid, all of your taxes, et cetera, are paid. They've made that commitment to pay it. We have seen 2 instances in my 19 years where somebody has put in, that nobody put in an opening bid. And this was when properties were not the same market value and not the same situation as we are in now. It was quite different. So that's what would happen. And so you're a long way away from making that decision. And the other side of this is by talking about tax sale, I make a very large assumption that this property doesn't get sold or doesn't, there's not, like the market, there's a market out there. And so it could absolutely, the owner could sell it for that price or less if he wished, or she, to another individual. And then at that point, you know, from your perspective, it's a whole other ballgame. Perhaps the new owner then takes fiscal ownership of those issues.
And how many missed taxes does it, I don't know how to ask the question. How many missed taxes does it take before the municipality takes it over and it goes into tax sale?
So it takes 2 years
2
of
years,
full
okay.
outstanding taxes. We don't take it over. We're merely the shepherd in putting it for bid. The ownership is retained by the person that owns the property for 6 months after the tax sale, even if there was a bid. So if I was to bid on it, well, I can't, but if a third party was to bid on a property, there's 6 months where that person has that amount of time to pay all fees in full, including any interest that the new owner, potential owner, would have earned on his or her bid. So it's a fairly complicated process, but it's 2 years outstanding.
So unless the property owner decide to sell now, they decide to put it up for sale, or directly after the demolition, it's a process of at least 2 years, if not longer, before it would be available for
tax sale.
somebody else who wants it, if the property owner doesn't sell it themselves.
That is correct, Councillor. I would say that it's 2 full years outstanding as well. Partial payments may in fact delay a tax sale further. Sometimes there's payment plans that are put in place that defer or delay people's properties going to tax sale as well. So there's no hard or fast 100% rule there. I think, you know, from the municipality's perspective, our hope would be that the market will prevail and that a third party might purchase the what is now a vacant lot, you know, I mean, I'm presuming for a much lower price than
The cost of the demolition.
then, right? And so, and then at that point, the bills hopefully would be satisfied.
Perfect, thank you.
Counselor Digdon?
Thank you. And I just through you, want to thank our CAO for the answer that he had gave both myself and Councillor Surratt. And again, through you, thank him and his staff for all they've done towards this project to get where we are tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have 11D, second reading, bylaw X13, trades and licensing repealed. Is somebody willing to make a motion to approve second reading of this bylaw, trades and licensing repealed? Moved by Councillor Madden, seconded by Councillor Digdon. Questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. 11E, request for relief of taxes, AAN number 02477-912. We have an attachment and a request for decision. There is, so it's dated December 2nd, the relief of taxes for assessment that has been deactivated by Nova Scotia Land Registry. And there is the tax sale expense of $150, the taxes of $1,776.99, and interest of $1,542. So it is a request for the relief of the amount of $3,468.99. So on the request for decision that I'm trying to pull up. We have, there is a recommendation that to write off the taxes for AAN number 02477-912 in the amount of $3,468.99. Is somebody willing to make that motion? Okay, it is moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Madden. Questions on that? Councillor Madden?
Just curious of how this, if I read this right, there was not actually a property there, which in this day and age, I guess, with $5,000 surveyors, how did this happen? Or why did this happen?
How and through, thank you for the question. It's a very good one. This is a fairly, through you, Madam Chair, this is a fairly large situation that required some investment of time and energy from surveyors in order to determine whether or not this lot existed. Unfortunately, this is all too common still today, that we have properties that have a description, that even have a map, but there's still many properties that aren't surveyed. So some of which come from old descriptions that have been passed on to family or otherwise. This is one of those cases. We've seen this. Actually, we saw it as we've seen it problems with ownership and property descriptions not far from my own homestead. Even there's some properties where it wasn't clear. Where it was clear where it was owned, but the description was nowhere near the same description as to where everybody knew the property was. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to tell you exactly why or how this happened, but unfortunately, it does happen. And oftentimes, we establish this when somebody stops paying the taxes, because we wouldn't know if there was no issue. Why would, if there was an issue with the land, you wouldn't pay your taxes. You would find out what's going on. So oftentimes we only find these issues in a tax sale situation. So, and our tax sale situation is not a full-on survey. So there are occasions where, and we tell people when we put properties on tax sale, it's at your own risk, right? The properties may not be exactly as described. You have to do a little bit of research in order to ensure that. So unfortunately, in times where there's no survey and the descriptions can be erroneous, and there's quite a few of them still out there. Do we like it? No. But unfortunately, this is what happened in this case. And often when somebody passes, situation unfolds.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Just curious, does this reflect anything in our books, or is it just washed off, and is it in our budget, or how does that work?
Through you, Madam Chair, it is not budgeted. I won't say that this particular issue is budgeted. We, every year, set up what we call an allowance for doubtful accounts, which, you know, as many businesses do have an estimate as to the possibility of losing money on certain properties. We have absolutely no idea at the time of budget that this can happen, which particular properties we're talking about. So this motion would write off that balance. So that would go into allowance for doubtful because, and the reason why we're bringing it to you for write-off is because the property doesn't exist. We wouldn't be able to collect it.
No,
It's
I
an
understand
invisible lot, right? So that's why we're asking you to write it off. And of course, once that happens, any future taxes disappear as well. So many of these costs are the reason why it's this high is it took a very, very long time in order to establish this. So this is not just 1 year's taxes. This is multi-year taxes with interest and costs associated, legal or otherwise associated with that property. Sometimes we invest in properties and they turn out just fine. And that you actually have a solid description, you're able to sell them and put them back into active operation. And unfortunately, in this case, we could not. So it is a relatively large one. It might put our allowance out a little bit, but it's really, we do anticipate, unfortunately, this annually.
Thank you.
Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you. Just to comment in regards, looking at on how these things could happen or not happen, and I guess from my experience and my other field of work, back in the early 2000s, the provincial government came out with the land registry system and to migrate properties. And the reason for that was because of situations like this. For, you know, as long as the land registry system's been in place, which you can go back in the early 1800s, even the 1700s in regards to some of these deeds on property, a lot of that stuff was done by hand and, again, properties being passed. And so you ran into a lot of situations of where people thought they had this property or that their boundaries was this, and the other person's boundaries crossed over, and no one really knew. And so with the migration of properties, what that does now is that ensures a person's boundaries and properties, and it goes, you have to have that title cleared 40 years back. And so as all these properties get moved over into the migration system, you're gonna see this stuff really disappear and a lot less of this, but it is common, and especially looking back at, and I have no idea what property this is, and I don't need to know, but looking back, I believe this is resulted back from 1989, which would have been into the old registry system that was probably carried over from years before. So just really an explanation on how these things can happen or why they happen. With today's technology and what's taken place with the changes in governance by the province, you'll see a lot less of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Number 11F. We have Article C 59, Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Policy. So we received 7-day notice in our email on this policy. So it's a policy regarding FOIPOP and basically how FOIPOP is conducted and the regulations around that and who does what and what everybody's roles and responsibilities are. Deputy Warden, I see you have a question.
I do, thank you. In light that we're going into video surveillance, is that going to be part of this FOIPOP policy?
Through you, Madam Chair, very, very good question. So the security policy or it's security cameras policy has to take into account freedom of information and protection of privacy of persons. So that policy has been written with the FOIPOP regulations in mind. So and part of that includes disclosure of what these security cameras are intended for, that we have security cameras. People need to know that there's cameras. They need to be aware of that. The fact that it cannot be pointed in a location other than what we're trying to secure. So, you know, you're not pointing it to the next door neighbor, or you're pointing it specifically to the areas where you wish to provide security monitoring. All of those, that policy is following the FOIPOP regulations and has FOIPOP language in it. So are they separate policies? Yes. Should they be separate? Yes. But the rules of FOIPOP are in that policy. The purpose of this FOIPOP policy is more specifically to how do you make a request to the staff, to the municipality regarding a FOIPOP item. We had received a lot, as you know, and we didn't really have a proper, well-known process, and which we should. So this is the purpose of this particular policy.
So, just to follow up, there got to be some difference with the video FOIPOP than there would be with common messaging. Am I correct?
I'm not
I
sure
don't know if you follow me.
I didn't.
But can John Doe request a FOIPOP on videotaping?
I believe that the security camera policy does enable someone to request access to that camera. And however, there is only a certain period of time that request can go in. There's a restriction as to how many days we would retain that information. We cannot and will not retain for more than a long period of time. It has to be for a specific purpose. Oftentimes, you know, some sort of FOIPOP request of that nature might be criminal in nature. There may be a crime that somebody was looking for information on that. The answer is it is FOIPOPable, but that doesn't mean that it would be released. It really depends on the reason or the request.
Okay.
Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. Just looking through the draft, so we don't actually have a policy right now, I don't believe, on
Correct.
FOIPOP. Okay. And just, would this policy be consistent with other councils throughout Nova Scotia?
It's an excellent question through you, Madam Chair. The answer is it was significantly influenced by existing FOIPOP policy. It was also reviewed with other organizations that are in the business of maintaining, looking into freedom of information. This policy would be consistent with those that are out there. There are many municipalities that don't have this policy. It's not a requirement, but it's certainly a strong recommendation. Particularly if you're getting requests, you should be very clear to the request, to somebody requesting how you're going to deal with it. So it's been significantly influenced by existing policy.
Through you, just as a follow-up, thank you. So, by no means though, and thank you for your answer, by no means is this policy being put in place, if it's so passed, to make it harder or anything like that for anyone or any organizations to put in a request. It's just more so guidelines and rules not to follow. Would I be right by saying that?
You would be absolutely correct. It is not to make it more difficult. It's actually to clarify. When people were asking for FOIPOP, you know, to be blunt, the first request, we were not that comfortable with the process because it was one that we didn't follow often. It's not something that we would get. And as we got more and more, it's like, okay, not only do we have to know, we need to be very clear about how people, how this process unfolds. So this is intended, FOIPOP's here to stay. I mean, FOIPOP is in law. It is not to hinder, it is to clarify.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Surratt.
Thank you. Do we have a policy on email retention? And I know there's a piece in here, 5.7, that talks about records management requirements and it talks about retention, but I don't know if it's 100% about each staff member's emails, and if we have a policy on retention of emails, or,
Okay. We certainly have, through you, certainly have a retention records policy, which states that we would follow I'm gonna paraphrase it because it's not in front of me, but it establishes certain amounts of time that you would retain information, much of which would mimic what Revenue Canada might be looking for in terms of going back 7 years or 10 years or whatever that would. I am almost certain that it would be all records of the municipality. We do have other policies around IT or use that I would have to examine a little deeper in order to see whether or not it's, I mean, that may be explicit to emails, but I know that there is an all-encompassing umbrella that speaks to records retention, and that would be all records.
Okay. We've already asked our questions. Is somebody willing to make a motion to pass Article C-59, Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Policy? Okay, moved by Councillor Digdon, seconded by Councillor Bork. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Okay, we will go to 12, and what we'll do, Councillor Foster, I'm going to put you, I didn't clarify that on the agenda, but your update, since it's for information, we will do 12B for your update. Is that okay? Okay. 12A, 12 correspondence and for information. So 12A, request for wharf usage, Acadian Sea Plants, Comeau's Hill Wharf. We have 3 attachments. The first attachment that was included is a letter from Acadian Sea Plants that is requesting to have the ability to use the wharf in Comeau's Hill. They would like to be able to use it they would like to have access between October 1st and May 15th of every year, berth of up to 2 rockweed boats, and they give the size of the boats, and to be able to park unloading equipment consisting of 1 log loader, 1 truck box, and on the wharf during the permitted time frame. So we have the request in writing. We also have attached a memorandum of kind of information as to how the wharf in Comeau's Hill became, I guess, property, or we became the owners of the wharf in Comeau's Hill. And there is also an attachment included of the deed for when that happened in 1991. I see that presenter 3 would like to speak, so Renee, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's, Council, we just received a request for the Acadian Sea Plants to use Comeau's Hills Wharf for seasonal commercial activity. And at this point, staff just hasn't had enough information or opportunity to review the request in detail and how it might align with the municipal planning strategy. So given this, I just recommend the council take a neutral stance and allow staff to gather a little bit more information on this request.
Thank you. Deputy Warden Sonia?
Thank you, Warden. So I've had quite a few phone calls, quite a few emails, texts, and I've heard a lot of people on this particular subject. And not most of them, all of them are against having this wharf change hands or go to a commercial area. As you've noticed in the photographs here, this particular wharf is unlike any other wharf. It is a 1-lane wharf. Therefore, if you put a box on the very end, you are restricting that box and nobody else, because they'll have two 21-foot boats tied alongside this box. This wharf is very essential for traveling to the Tuscan Islands, and it is used all the time. People launch on the beach, and once they're launched, they'll travel back and forth to the Tuscan Islands. It is the closest, it is the most well-protected and safest place to travel to the island. It's only 7 minutes. If there's an emergency, it's been used many times in the past. and people will travel back and forth and get their supplies, their groceries, whatever supplies they need. And at low water, the only place they can go is at the very end of the wharf where the proposed box would be. It would be totally in the way of the users now. This place is not designated, but it's intended for recreation. And it's been used by kayaks, they've launched from there. It is the only beach in Argyle. To me, it's more like a recreation area. It's almost like a small park. As you notice in the foreground, there's a gazebo, there's picnic tables, there's a parking lot. It is well used. It's used for swimming. They use the wharf to jump off and swim. The wharf and the beach are entangled into one, basically. It's access to the ocean. It's used by communities or the region, I should say, not just the Comeau Hill and Little River, Wedgeborders, people in town. A lot of people have called me and said they use that wharf. And I really do believe that the municipality, by the way, has spent I think it was $45,000 to fix it up. And the wharf is in great shape. It truly is. And I invite you guys to go have a look and go in the summertime because that's when it shines. But anyhow, I think if we put a box there, we're restricting access. We're restricting the people in the Tuscan Islands. We're restricting all kinds of people. Lots of kids, they jump off that wharf. I don't think it should go commercial. As a matter of fact, I want to make a motion to leave as is. And maybe entertain the thought of designating this area or the wharf as a recreational area. I'm hoping to get someone to second that motion.
Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Can we just have the motion repeated?
Can you repeat the motion, please?
To
Deny the request?
to leave the wharf as is and designate it a recreational area. That's two motions?
No, there's two, it's not, it can be one motion, I wanted to be clear.
Okay.
Because there's two parts to that motion.
Right.
It can be in one, not necessarily has to be separate, but you're asking for two things there. If council requires them to be separated, it can do so via amendment to the motion, if it's agreeing with one and not the other. That's entirely up to you as councillors, but just wanted to note that there's two things in the motion, right? So, that's all.
I was looking at it a little different, leaving it as is. I get what you're saying, but what I'd like to do goes a little further than where we are now, is to designate it a recreational area, therefore restricting it from any commercial use. Is that two things?
So it sounds like it sounds like the request is denied. The request from Acadian Seaplants is denied. And then as a second part, to designate it a recreational area.
Correct.
That's kind of how I feel.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wanna be clear on the discussion, so when you're making,
Yeah.
I know we're speaking on a motion and it has been seconded, but I just wanna be clear on the motion so that everybody's, if they're debating or discussing it, that we're clear on what we're debating and
So
discussing.
do I.
So if it's clear, it's to have the use remain as is, and in addition to restrict it to a recreational asset.
And I say that because it was intended to be recreational. Am I correct?
I think that there's a history there. I don't know what the original reason was for the construction. I mean, presumably
No, I'm
many of.
talking about from the time of the purchase, that the municipality bought the,
It was divested to us from the federal government, and then we quickly improved it, spent about $190,000, and then even quicker transferred it to the Comeau Hill Little River Recreational Association. So where you're going with the recreational side is that association had a recreational arm. It was not intending on I think it was looking to preserve that area for recreational purposes.
Correct.
So the OG, like the original reason why that wharf was constructed, it's probably the same reason why all the wharves were constructed. It had a commercial use.
Right.
But certainly when the federal government divested of it, they had no use for it. And we clearly didn't at the time either, because we shipped it right next to the community. You know, fast forward so many years later, and it was relinquished by the community, and then we were asked to take it over again, and then we had some maintenance issues around it because it needed major fit up, which to your point, 45,000 was invested, and that's where we are today. Which is, we own the wharf. We don't have a municipal purpose for it. We're owning it on behalf of the community at this time. And yeah, I think that's as much as we know today. Which is why we didn't bring this for decision, but not suggest it can't be decided. We were just trying to gather information for you. Maybe, I'm hoping that gives you a little bit of historical context.
Councillor Boudreau?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I totally agree with what Ted said, Councillor Sonia. I'd like to add a few things. A truck from Acadian Seaplants that's loaded up with rockweed is probably about 15 tons. And on that wharf, eventually there's going to be wear and tear. And within where the pavement ends and the wharf, there's probably, I don't know, probably half a mile of dirt road. Can you imagine a 15-ton truck going back and forth? That road's going to be a mess. So there's all kinds of considerations, but put them all together, and it's a no. And I hope the rest of you decide the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor LeBlanc?
Thank you. Just a question. Looking at the warranty deed from 1991, now I'm assuming that the warranty deed is in regards to the land, and the municipality still owns the wharf. Am I correct on that?
So Renee will correct me if I'm wrong. So the warranty deed was only for the wharf itself.
Just the wharf itself?
Correct. So
not the land
No.
attached to where that wharf is?
Correct. The road coming to it we do not own, nor do we own the beach area. The beach area is owned by federal government, I believe, still, and is maintained by a local organization who is responsible for keeping that up, as well as there's a trail system there that they've been, working many years to maintain.
So I have to ask the question, if we've signed a warranty deed with this association regarding the wharf, is it not up to them in regards to it? Because would they not be the owners of the wharf then, if that is the case? Or am I missing something?
So this was, great question through you, Madam Chair. I think this was why we were trying to get information, because we know that this is a very important decision for the community and for council. We want to make sure that you had as much information as possible. But in terms of the warranty deed, just to go through it very quickly, it went from federal government to us, then to the Comeau's Hill Little River Association, and then that association folded. And then
it did? Okay.
And then it was returned. Excuse me, it was returned to us.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That clears everything up then.
Okay.
If I can make a comment, looking at this, I don't have the answer to this. I don't know how many working wharfs there are in that region. I assume there's quite a few, or this looks like a really nice area for the residents to be able to use. I'm not sure we want to, I guess the proper word is, I'm not sure we want to change what we already have there, because that's a real asset to the community. And opening that up when there's other facilities there for Acadia Seaplants to use, I'm in full agreement with both Councillor Sonia and Boudreau that I think that the answer has to be a no. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Madden?
Just for clarification, I guess, so at the moment, this is considered coastal community. So does that give the right to Acadian Seaplant to be able to apply and change? Or are we empowered by any rules and regulations here from the province? Or are we going to have a problem by denying this? Too many questions I don't know the answers to, but clarification is what I asked, I guess.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Well, technically, it's below the high water marks, the wharf, so that would still be governed by the federal authority. But it would, through us, they would be allowed to just drop the box there and collect if council would accept it.
Only if we accept it, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. Just wondering, are they, Acadian Sea, are they using that wharf now for those purposes? They're not. Not. Kudos to our Deputy Warden Sonia and Mr. Councillor Woodrow for speaking up, and that on behalf of your communities and your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We have a motion on the floor. CEO Muse.
I can wait until the decision's made. I
Okay.
don't want to, it's not to, yeah.
We have a motion on the floor. Are we clear on the motion? Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. CEO
Thank
Muse.
you.
So now that that motion has been passed, just a couple of cleanup items that we should be discussing. So I think that this request has raised a very obvious point. And the point is that this asset has tremendous value to the community for the purposes that they are using currently. As long as we own this asset, we run the risk of making a different decision. So new councils, new requests, new things coming in, we still own it, right? And as my father used to say, and I know I've said this more than once, I pay, I say. And so, of course, when you own something, there's always the risk. Now, you've supported the councillor in that location today, but there's always the risk that maybe a different decision can be made. And by us owning it, it takes the power away from the community. Is that a fair statement? And the reason why we took it over, not because we had a purpose municipally, it was to protect the asset for the community. And so I think that I would suggest that rather than, and I'm not poo-pooing on the motion itself. What I'm saying is because that is the interest of council, perhaps it would be important for us to reopen the conversation around providing that asset to the community so it can control its use forevermore. Otherwise, there is a risk that we would, because of our land use bylaw or because of our MPS or because of changes in policy, could make a different decision. And it is a wharf, and we are in some ways limited in terms of zoning, which was mentioned before. So I think that with the deputy warden's leadership in the community, staff is certainly open to having that conversation again and start to talk about what that might look like for them, because many of the wharves in this community are not owned by us. And I think there's a good reason. There's a good reason why. And so I want to make that point clear. And if that is the interest of your community group, that is perhaps a decision that may come here in the future. It is ultimately yours to make. But I think you've heard loud and clear, right? So I think that kind of passion tells you that the community is very passionate about that place, and the best way to protect it is to own it. And we don't have a municipal use for it. Our only purpose of owning it, again, was to preserve it and make sure that it was protected for that community. So based on that motion, I will defer to you, sir, and see what happens. And if you need any staff assistance on that, you let us know. It's about making sure that the community has control.
I appreciate you bringing that up. As a matter of fact, I'm very happy you brought it up because we have talked about this, you and I have talked to members of Little River and Comeau about ownership. And their fear was that they would incur all the cost. And I assured them through advice from you that that would not be the case. And I would love to see the wharf in their hands rather than ours, for the same reason you just said.
So the way I see it is if we own it, we maintain it. So if we're divesting it to a community that is in our municipality, I would dare say that there would be lots of very eager ears listening to what kind of conditions might be suitable for them to own it. Maybe there's a 5, 7, 8, 10-year deal that says, okay, we will do this, and we'll grant you this. Many times, federal government divests. I mean, in fact, this is a divested asset. And guess what? We got $190,000 of that asset when it was divested to us. So, perhaps there's something like that we can do for the community. I just wouldn't want the community to make the assumption that since they own it, that they're going to bear everything forever. That's not really how it would work in this case. We're doing it for them. So-
I have said, sorry for interrupting, that the decision we make to them, even if it's favorable, is not bulletproof, because council down the road can
Absolutely.
have another application. So by them owning it, it becomes bulletproof.
Correct. Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Digdon.
Thank you. The only thing I will ask, if there is a civic sign number or a way of assigning a civic number to that wharf, and if so, I'd like to see one put up, if there's not already one up. Thank you.
Counselor Bork.
Thank you, through you. Is there a way to have an agreement, instead of like changing ownership or something like that, an agreement between the group from Comeau's Hill and the municipality, that we can still own it, and have an agreement with them that you have, that they keep it to recreational? Like, we have the Hipson Bridge, which is owned by the municipality, but we have a group that's taking care of the area. I mean, the municipality probably could say, we're not gonna do anything with that bridge and let it fall apart. So that's, I was wondering if there was an agreement or something that you could stamp, a 100-year agreement or something. I don't know. Just
Also,
something.
through you, Madam Chair, absolutely, that is entirely possible. We've entered into lease agreements where, we're leasing property or they're leasing property from us. And I think at the end of the day, we want the control to remain with the community, and so that the community is best suited to make the decisions that need to be made. That reduces the risk of us making a decision that's contrary to their wishes. We can't technically zone it because it's not zonable. But by that motion, if we got a request in the future and it didn't fit in that motion, we would just say no as staff. But, better still would be, yes, that control could be achieved in other means. It doesn't only have to be ownership. It could be through agreement, for sure.
Just to follow up on that, so instead of the municipality handing it over to the group, so maybe that group down the road will dissolve and, things happen. Sometimes volunteers are not interested anymore and things, so the municipality will still own it. So that way there, you don't have to change ownership and keep going back and forth. That's my idea about that.
That it's essentially, Madam Councillor, is at the will of council. So whatever council wishes to do, I think the first step is to open that conversation and see what the needs of the community are. I wouldn't limit any of those things, to be honest. We'll do as council wishes.
Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I just want to add, it's a possibility, Kathy. I think we have a member in the audience, Alice here, and I think we should sit down with the people in Little River and Comeau Hill and have a good discussion. I have a question. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but just so that council is aware, instead, the people in Comeau Hill are aware. I've made a comment that the wharf was in great shape. By saying that, and I think you agree, what repairs do you anticipate in the coming years? And, it looks like there will be very much to do on that wharf for the next 20 years.
I think that 20 years is probably a good a good estimate based on its use. So the use right now, and I'm not judging one way or another as to what the use ought to be. I'm talking about the historical use. Light trucks, vehicles coming to the beach, pedestrians, swimmers, everything is, there's no heavy traffic there.
Right.
So, 20 years, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's in pretty good shape. I know that when we looked and spent 45,000 on a wharf isn't that much. And it was basically, it was repaving for the most part. So the structure itself was fairly sound.
So the anticipated fear of maintenance cost is not there?
Certainly not immediate, but you can never tell, right? I mean, there's always things that can happen and yeah, I mean, whoever owns it in 20 years' time, they may have some questions they need answering, but I think that if I would suspect that the fear of the community would be the moment we own it, then the municipality walks away forever, and we don't have any funding. I can't say what will happen in 20 years, but I mean, that certainly wouldn't be the intent.
So would you suggest a motion that staff go and engage the people in Comeau and see what kind of results we can have?
I feel that now that we've made a decision, I think maybe the community has taken a breath and said, okay, phew. I think that I don't feel a motion is necessary for staff at this time.
Okay.
I think that, with respect, of course, in your community, you can start to have those conversations. And then if you feel that there's an interest, then perhaps at that time, there may be something more formal from the council. That's a suggestion.
Great. Thank you.
Okay? Good? Okay. We'll continue on. 12B, Councillor Foster, you would like an update on flooding.
Yes, with the winter freeze coming on, which has already started, I'm starting to get concerns again about the flooding situation at Highway 3 and 308, just north of Carl Store. There's been a history of water washing across the driveway in an apartment building. It washes across both roads, Highway 308 and Highway 3, and washes right across the parking lot, northern parking lot of Carl Store. And cars coming along hit into a sheet of ice when it's frozen. And there's a lot of concern about that because apparently cars have lost control going over that sheet of ice when it freezes over. I haven't noticed any water coming down through that driveway in recent months, but we've had a rather substantial drought. So I'm not sure if the source of the water has been identified as of yet. There's been speculation. One of the speculations was that water was being pumped out of a basement and onto the driveway, which was going across the road. I know we've had meetings with the Department of Transportation. I know that our operations department has been involved in monitoring the situation. And since I'm starting to get calls and concerns expressed to me, I promised the people that I would try and get an update at this meeting.
Thank you.
So I know Councillor Madden has also had complaints about that situation.
Sure.
Yep. Through you, Madam Chair, the answer to your question in terms of an update is that the department has not updated us as to the status of that work. They have been, through your question, our operations, our Director of Operating Services has contacted them again to urgently follow through. I think that as we all know, we were waiting for rain in order for us to establish what exactly was happening. We didn't get too much of that through the summer, but then the last couple of weeks has proven to be rather wet. So I think that we will be accelerating that conversation with the department. Unfortunately, that's as best as I can give you at this time, but perhaps in days we'll have a bit more to share.
Thank you. That's fair. That's, like I said, I haven't noticed any water. I've been looking for it, but I haven't seen the water running across the road as if it were a stream bed, like it has been in recent years. Thank you.
Next, number 13, their financial requests. We do not have any financial requests this evening. Number 14, agenda topics for next meeting. Notice of motion by councillors. Are there any agenda topics or notice of motion by councillors? Okay, seeing none. Number 15, question period.
There's just one question, and Renee will be handling the
Okay.
answer.
So the question was, why would you have to amend the LUB, the land use bylaw, since they already have an operation on the lot? So I'm assuming this is the development agreement for the Dion's Oyster. So that the answer would be, even though there's already an operation on the property, it's considered existing non-conforming use under the current land use bylaw. So this means it's allowed to continue as it is, but they cannot expand or add new buildings. So if they do wish to expand or add new buildings, they have to go through the development agreement, which is what they're applying for. So
Did you have follow-up? Is there a follow-up question there?
Did you have a question?
So was there an amendment being made there?
that's the word.
The question asked why there was an amendment, but there wasn't an amendment.
That's my question.
Yeah,
There's no
the use is grandfathered, which means when initially was there, as Renee said, I'm repeating, they're allowed to continue because they were there before those rules were put in place. So grandfathered in. And so, but once you expand it, you then, if it expands large enough, if it's a significant enough change, you then have to look at the rules of the day, because now you not necessarily have changed the use, but you've modified the use of the location. This is why and so under the coastal communities zone, which is the zone in question, it has to be done by development agreement, so it's not an amendment to the zone, it's not a change to the zone, it's to follow the new rules in that zone.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? Question period? No? 16, in camera. We have in camera 16A, section 22.2, DB, code of conduct, complaint leading to the investigation stage. So can we have a motion to go in camera? Moved by Councillor Bork, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion